Call the meeting to order. All rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, all members are present. Approval of the agenda, we have one addition, 7J, approve advertisement for full-time police officer. Is there any other changes, council? Do I have a motion to approve the agenda with that one addition?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Heidi, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Dave. Call the question, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. Approval of the minutes, November 15th, 2017. We received them in your packet. Is there any changes, correction, or clarification? Hearing nothing, do I have a motion to approve the November 15th, 2017 minutes?
I'll make the motion.
We have a motion by Diane. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Heidi. Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. This now brings us to our public open forum. Is there anyone here that would like to speak to the council? This is on issues other than the public hearing tonight or the public meeting on the taxes. Is there anyone here that would like to speak to the council? Is there anyone here that would like to speak to the council? Seeing no one, our public open forum is now closed. We will now recess the regular council meeting and go into our public hearing. We have a public hearing before us this evening regarding the road vacation petition of 410th Street. It is our intention that everyone has the opportunity to be heard. If you wish to speak, please sign in on the sign-up sheet at the back of the room. The procedure is as follows. Presentation by staff, followed by questions of staff. Then we will ask for public input. Raise your hand. When recognized by the mayor, approach the podium and state your name and address for the record. State your comments and position. No one will be allowed to speak a second time until everyone has had a chance to be heard. First, we will ask questions for clarification, then public in favor of the proposal, then public speaking against the proposal. After everyone who wishes to speak has had an opportunity to be heard, the hearing will be closed. After closure of the public hearing, the council will deliberate and take action as appropriate. Members of the audience do not participate in the council's discussion unless a majority of the council concedes to hear additional information or questions. The hearing is now in session. Vicki?
Okay, a petition has been received from Felling Trailers at 1525 Trunk Highway 71 South for the vacation of 410th Street that lies on the southern boundary of the city. The Felling Trailers campus extends into the township south of 410th Street as well. It is because Felling Trailers owns all the frontage on the street that the vacation is being requested. One thing to note that part of the road is in Sauk Center Township, and the township will also need to take action on the vacation. So if the city elects to grant the vacation, it should be contingent upon the township doing the same. And you do have a copy of the petition in your packet, which shows all the signers of the ownership of Felling Trailer. It also is included as a highlighted aerial map showing the roadway that is to be requested to be vacated. And they also have some talking points that they presented to the township as well as the reasons why they desire the city or township to vacate 410th Street. The notice was published in the Sauk Herald. It was mailed to all property owners within 350 feet of the vacation, and we also extended that mailing to all potential users of the road. In other words, around back, all the way looping around and back out by Modern Farm. So anybody on that entire loop was provided with a notice of this vacation request. It's also important to note that the city utilities, including water, sewer, storm sewer, and electric, are located under the roadway, and the city would retain an easement for that to remain. Structures would not be allowed to be constructed upon that easement as time goes on. However, with the vacation of the roadway, the setback from the easement or the setback from the right-of-way goes away, so it does increase the buildable area of their property itself. It just could not occur on top of the easement vacation. The city council should conduct the public hearing and consider the request. If approved, the proper documentation would be recorded to Stearns County. In addition, I did talk with Paul at the public utility, and he had stated that as long as the easements were to remain in place, that the public utility did not object to the vacation. So.
Questions? You brought up a good point. How wide are the easements?
The easement is an entire 66 feet width.
Okay, all right. So what I was concerned about is if the setbacks all changed, would we have enough room to be able to dig deep enough to fix anything without having to worry about building foundations or something, so.
Well, traditionally, we work within the right-of-way, and there are times when you end up outside of the right-of-way when you're digging, but in a situation like this, and I had talked to Paul about this, if it was a sanitary sewer line, it's probably wouldn't be dug anyway, it would probably be sleeved.
Okay.
And so that's the main thing that you would have an issue with, would be the sanitary sewer. We can ask him some additional questions if you have more questions of the utility about that. Or we also can have it contingent upon an agreement that if there's extraordinary cost as a result of this in the future, that those costs could be passed on. So for instance, if we had to do something different to dig that deep, if there was additional trench boxing or shoring up that needed to be done to be able to dig completely within the 66 feet, those additional costs could be passed on as a condition of this vacation.
Okay. Everyone understand kind of what, because what I'm looking at is not so much against the idea, it's just the pure fact I don't want to see unforeseen costs all of a sudden if we do end up doing it on the city's behalf. So, is there any other questions or?
Would you like me to read these, the reasons why they're requesting the vacation? Or did you all have a chance to read that? I don't know if anybody else has had a chance.
Well, maybe for the public's work, if you want to read it.
I'll just do it quickly here.
Okay, thank you.
The reasons why Felling Trailers desires the vacation, the first bullet point is safety. Felling Trailers employees cross the road with a forklift or tractor at least 50 times per day. Felling Trailers employees cross the road on foot at least 70 times per day. Currently, there are 8 gates that serve the property, making it very difficult to establish and maintain proper traffic flow. Due to the high volume of semi-forklift and foot traffic, daily activity can be dangerous and chaotic. The second, the bullet point is security. 410th Street currently bisects Felling Trailers operation, making it nearly impossible to secure the property during business operation. The shop and yard are open 20 hours per day, Monday through Thursday, and 12 hours per day, Friday through Sunday. If the road were vacated, Felling Trailers would be able to have secured entries limiting outside threats. Employees, customers, vendors, and other guests are allowed to enter the property whether they are welcome or not at multiple points. If the road were vacated, Felling Trailers would be able to offer a welcoming and streamlined entrance and exit for vendors and customers. Felling Trailers desires to funnel employees through a select number of entrances. If the road were vacated, employee parking would be strategically redone to directly affect how employees can enter the premises. In addition, Felling Trailers desires to continue to expand in Sauk Center. Medium-term plans are to add production capabilities between the current main plant and the former Engel building. If 410th Street is not vacated, this could alter their expansion plans. And a couple notes about Felling Trailers. They've been in business for 43 years. They currently employ 260 people with 215 in Sauk Center. They have positions open for 28 more people. In addition to Sauk Center, Felling Trailers has a production facility in Litchfield. And Felling Trailers is a good steward to the community and would like to continue to grow in Sauk Center. And those were the points that were provided not only to the city, but the township as well.
Okay, and the township is met already?
The township had a preliminary meeting on it. I don't believe they've had the public hearing yet.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? Hearing none, I'll open it up to the public. Is there anyone here that wants any clarification on what's happening here or why the vacation? Is there anyone here that wants clarification? Anyone here that wants clarification? Okay. We'll go, secondly, is there anyone here that would like to speak in favor of the proposal? Is there anyone here that would like to speak in favor of the proposal? Third time, is there anyone here that would like to speak in favor of the proposal? Okay, all right. State your name and address, please.
Brenda Jennison, 1525 Main Street and 610th Street. As we stated in the letter that was submitted to both the council and the township, we are really concerned, bottom line, of safety. In this day and age, unfortunately, a lot of events can happen that are completely out of our control, and we'd like to control some of that by not allowing our campus, if you will, to be open in such a manner for anything to come in that could be a threat, potential threat. And then also with our employees, we're constantly walking around the campus, material handlers to various personnel that are walking from building to building and crossing that street multiple times a day. And so we're looking out for their safety as well, and then to really just streamline that parking. So that is really what got us thinking about this, and more looking at it that from a safety issue is the bottom line. We want to try to prevent anything tragic from happening.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak in favor? Is there anyone here that would want to speak against the proposal? You want to come up to the mic and state your name and address?
My name is Bob Kane, and I represent Gail Kane LLC as owner to an adjacent property, and also Kane Transport as the tenant at that property. I never got a law degree, so I never went through this oral arguments thing, so you'll have to hang with me. One of the first things that I'm glad that Failing Trailer has brought it up is the issue of safety. And we're a transportation company. We're involved in the distribution of hazmat materials, so safety is always our top priority. Without safety, we're not here. So we believe that although in some minds it may be a trivial thought, but we believe that if we close off the parcel that you're talking about, that street, what is that, 410? Yeah, that's part of 410. We believe that for sure it increases the response time for the fire department and the ambulance services. Although it may be trivial, I believe that as a public body, nobody wants to increase response times to any location. So that being said, we're on the same page. The north entrance out of Kane Transport Facility is a left turn, and that left turn gives us a shorter distance to the freeway access and to the loading terminal here in Sauk Center would be, although we're going to locations all over the upper Midwest. But just that a little bit of time, we want our people to come to work, we want them to get in the transport truck and be on their way down the road. We're not real interested in making them have to do, we're not really interested in asking them to make out of route, so to speak, which this would put us out of route if we went to the south. Another safety issue for us as we've been looking at it since we got the notice is the highway traffic coming down Highway 71. As you come down 71 and you're proceeding to the north, it's my understanding that you don't hit the 40-mile-an-hour speed limit till you hit that south access road that when you come around the loop. There is a sign there with a little arrow on it, and I think that indicates slow down ahead to 40. But at the present time, I believe that that's a 60-mile-an-hour limit now. Correct me if I'm wrong. But anytime we pull onto a public highway, we would sooner pull onto a highway that has reduced speeds. And when you get up to the north entrance, 410th, the speeds have been significantly reduced by that time. I mean, you can imagine pulling a tanker truck loaded with gasoline. You want those people to have time, and we want our people to be as safe as possible. But to us, that's a safety issue. Let's see here. We own property on both sides of the road on 410th to the east. And just the pure, the lay of the land, if you will, that piece of property to the east of Kane Transport's terminal building is divided into 3 parcels. And the lay of the land is so that those 3 parcels significantly go downhill toward the north. And actually, I think Failing Trailer just did some work on moving water in that area of their facility and some outside their facility. But if you close 410th, the parcel that you're talking about closing, we see significant problems with trying to access the north lot. The elevation is such that it's very, very high up on the road as it exists now, and in order to get to that north parcel, I don't know what you do. I think the only way to do it would be you'd have to give access through the other 2 parcels, which will certainly, reduce the property value of them if we have to give an easement to get back to that 3rd parcel. It's kind of interesting that one of the reasons that we're asking for this vacation is that the landowner, Failing Trailers, owns land on both sides of 410th. And I think if you applied the same reasoning, we could then close it down to way south on 410th. Because if we develop that property across the street, or even when we park trailers over there now, we encounter the same problems, having to cause to cross the street. I think one of the things that we're missing here is that 410th, the street that we're talking about vacating, is not a sparsely used road. That road sees a lot of activity. We have a 24-hour operation. The trucks that you see going in and out there during the day aren't the trucks that are in and out of that terminal. They're in and out of that terminal at all hours of the day or night. And so besides that, Kane Transport has sales traffic coming through. We have our vendor traffic. We have our employee traffic and our customer traffic. So I think it would put a significant burden on our operation to cut that traffic off and make them go down the south way and come up to a dead end. I don't know this, and this is for lack of knowledge. I will say ignorance, but one of the questions that I have, and it's merely that, don't take it for anything more, but I know that the city and the county and the state, whoever, were involved in the development of that section of street and poured considerable money into upgrading that street to make the street accessible to heavy traffic and lots of trucks and all the other things that that piece of property was intended for, that street. And it's merely a question, believe me. How does the taxpayer recover that? I mean, roadbed and curb and gutter and all the other things that public entities have poured in. I mean, I don't know. I'm just asking that. I don't know the process or the procedures. Is Failing Trailer willing to pay for that, or do you abandon it and then it becomes theirs? That's a question. So I don't know the answer.
Okay, thank you. Is there, do you need more time, or you got?
Just a few more minutes, and then
Okay.
I'll get out of your way. Another out there question for me is, I know Kane Transport has been in business. We've been in that particular location for 38 years. Through the process of it evolved, we've had as many as 100 people running out of that terminal. At this present time, we have about 50 employees and transport truck drivers running in and out of that terminal. Through this process and all these years of being there, I know there's been talk, at the very least, about the city's plans to go in a southerly direction as you expanded, and you may have done some of that already. But I kind of wonder to myself, if in fact that is part of the city's plan in the future to go to the south, would it make much sense for Bob Kane or Kane Transport to support an abandonment if the city were to come in and ask for, demand, whatever, however that process is, annexation of that property? It sits right, it's a natural, it sits right there on the edge of your boundaries. And so my question would be, if the city came to me, for instance, and said, well, Bob, we'd like to annex you in. And I said, yeah, that'd be great. That'd be really good. But you said, well, there's a couple problems here. We're going to take your access away, and we're going to increase your response times. So, to me, it's just something that, would I be really getting the bang for my buck if in the future? And we certainly plan to stay there. We're going no place. We've been there for 38 years. So I wonder about that a little bit. And then I noticed in my research, and I don't know if I'm right here again, I shouldn't say things that I don't know, but is there a cartway involved in this abandonment at all?
A cartway?
Yeah. Is there a cartway in any way, shape, or form?
No.
I don't know, you'd have to go to the there's cartways and there's cart paths and there's state roads and there's this, that, and that.
I'm not sure. I think it's, yeah.
Has it been abandoned?
Described by these companies. I think the only thing left was someone that's described in the abstract possibly. by
Okay.
these companies.
I was just wondering that, in the information I was looking at. So, I guess with that, I pretty much said everything that I could say. I thank you for your time.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak against?
Thank you. My name is Kevin Winter. I own the property with Al Wessel to the east and to the south of Kane Transport off of 408th Street. We have the hay auctions down there twice a month. And our trucks are not the only ones that use them. I'm going to have, tomorrow we've got the sale, and if you want to come on down and take a look, there's going to be 150 semis coming down there to sell hay. When they leave, they're going to have to go, if you propose this deal, all on 408th Street with the cane trucks and the freight trucks from the other businesses down there, all going to be dumped onto 408th Street, which is going to be overburdensome on the 408th Street. And like Bob had said, when these semis are loaded and they're coming out on the highway, it's a lot easier for them to pull out easy where the traffic is only going 30 miles an hour versus down on the other end on 408th where they're definitely moving. I think that's something you folks should really consider quite wholeheartedly when you're making these decisions. Not only that, but the safety reasons for our safeties as well. And I know the felling forklift drivers, they are very courteous, very observant. They're very well aware of what they're doing on there. But you've got 150 trucks of ours, and I'm sure Bob and Paul from the Kane Transport's got at least 50 to 100 of them going in and out of there a day. That's quite a substantial amount of truck traffic to go down on the other end. Plus, you have the UPS drivers, all for John Behringer's business. There's got to be 15, 20 of them coming in out of that road each day too. And not only that, but then you have to look at the resale value of the property of mine as well as Bob's or anybody else's along there. When you're going to limit it to just one access, it causes a burden on other people. And that's, when the roads were put in, it was to ease the traffic, not to overburden some. So that's my thought. And we've been in business for 40 years, and we love Sauk Center. And and not only of the 150 trucks, I'm going to have another 100 to 125 pickups and farmers that park over at Mike Bouchard's lot for parking. You're going to have all of that traffic dumped onto one road. So please take that wholeheartedly into consideration when you're doing these here. Okay? Thank you. Appreciate the time.
Thank you. Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak against the proposal? Is there anyone else that would like to speak against the proposal?
I'm John Basil, Chairman of the Board of Supervisors of Sauk Center Township. I'm not here to speak for or against, just here to see what's being said and discussed as far as this road goes. I guess we haven't discussed it, so we really have taken no position on it yet. I know Mr. Kane had some issues with what happens to the road when it's annexed into the city. Right now, the city has taken care of the road because when the racetrack property was annexed in, they took over control of maintaining that road. Before that, when the city put sewer and water under it, they fixed the road, and the township didn't have an expense in that, although we did tar part of that road, which is township expense. So any other annexation that takes place, we basically lose whatever we've done to the roads. And our concern too is, the through traffic, if there's, we don't want that road dead-ended. I think it's 408th, I believe, going up to the north. We're gonna need a turnaround of some sort, a cul-de-sac, whatever. That would be big enough to handle semis, whatever. We would also need to make sure there's signage there as far as, dead-end road or no through traffic there, to make sure that felling trailers would be responsible for doing any of that. Otherwise, we haven't made up our mind, and I was just kind of here to see what everybody had to say about it for now. As far as the road going to the south, that should be heavy enough to handle as far as weight restrictions or anything on any semis and stuff coming in and out of that road.
John, you're talking about that frontage road?
What? Well, you're talking. God, no.
You're talking about. You're talking about that frontage road that goes in front of the vet clinic?
No, to
Is
the
that the one you're
south.
talking
South
about?
road.
The south.
408th.
408th goes north and south, doesn't it, or is that
Yeah.
the other one? What's the south one? Ford. What? Anyhow, yeah, the south. Either one of them
All right.
should be able to handle it. And I know Mr. Kane had a question on any
408th.
road cartway. That actual 410th that goes down into the racetrack has never been an official township road yet. We've never taken it over. It's there on paper, so it's for public use though, but it's never been part of a public road yet. And there's the same thing down by going into Behringer's down there, there's a stretch down there too. That is, it's a 66-foot wide right-of-way that hasn't been taken over by the township either yet down there. I'm not sure if I had anything else or not, so, and personally, I guess one way or the other, it doesn't make any difference to me, but I was just having, if there's any township concerns, them or some of them that the township has, you know, we want to make sure people can turn around down there and stuff, and there's enough signage coming off 71 too, that's no through traffic going through there or whatever. But I think that's all I have for now.
No, John, as long as you're up there, and I know you're with the township, the 410th Street that we're talking about, that was strictly a township road at one point in time until the city annexed in, right?
Right.
Okay, so that basically, other than rebuilding of it when we put utilities underneath, that's the only time any city expense got put into it.
Right.
Okay.
And as far as snow removal, we had agreements with Engel and Fellings afterwards that we
Right.
moved the snow off the road and they took care of
Because
it.
that road was there even before when RCL's bowling alley was there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
right.
been there for-
Okay, so that road has been a long-standing road.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. The other, thanks, John. One thing I want to mention is everything's good points. As far as the city's aspect on this road, basically, on 410th, we're only talking from the center line north to the Felling property, and only as far down as the Smothers Wood Shaving Building. The rest of it is all in the township.
That's what I was gonna ask.
Not to throw everything on the township shoulders, but if we decide to go ahead, it's gonna be up to them to whether or not they wanna put require a cul-de-sac. It's up to them whether or not this happens, because most of that whole road is all township. So, we're the first step. So I just wanted to point that out, you know, it's not a total city road to vacate. That's the reason why if this would happen, it'd be contingent on the township voting yes.
Is that frontage road that runs in front of the vet clinic, is that also township?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah. We only own, or the north half of 410th Street, down, not even down to that intersection where it turns to go down to Kane Transport. It stops probably 3/4 of the way down. So we basically only own that half a road down that far.
Okay.
So everybody understands
Yep.
what I'm saying here. So I just want that for public clarification too, you know. If it happens to go through that we say, yeah, we don't have a problem with it, it'll ultimately fall on the township's shoulders whether or not it happens. You know, if we can say yes or no, so. Is there any other one that wants to speak against the proposal? Merle, you want to say something? Come up to the mic, please. Is there anyone else that wants to speak in favor or against or clarification? Is there anyone else that would like to speak on all points? Go ahead.
Merle Felling, over at 1525. Any rate, the three other points I'm going to mention that as far as the Highway 71 speed, currently, it reduces down to 40 mile an hour around that north entrance. That could always be moved south another block or, quarter mile, half mile. Along with that, of course, in the next few years, we're hoping to be up to around 300 employees just here at Sauk Center, if we can continue to grow with the needs that we're requesting. And I should mention, as far as the 408 Street, we can, and we're willing to put the cul-de-sac in there. We moved the fence over to the west and so forth, and do a little excavating. We can put in a large cul-de-sac where you gotta spin around a semi or whatever. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you. Call one last time. Is there anyone else that would like to speak to the council before we close the public hearing? Council, have any questions, concerns?
I'm just wondering about the speed. I can appreciate not pulling a semi out onto a pretty busy highway at 60 miles an hour. So that would be one of the concerns I would be, is that we would have to move that south, and that's not our call either, right?
Basically, that would require a speed study from MinDOT before, and a request
Yeah.
from someone to put that done, and MinDOT would control that
And
whole situation.
Is that South Street behind there, is that the same construction as 410th? The same weight? Does it seem?
410th is built up because we put the water and sewer and everything underneath
Yeah,
there, so
right.
it's got the curb and everything more so than the South Road.
Yeah. and
So the
then-
North Road, the 410th is more like an urban style road, I think, more than the South Road is.
Yeah,
And
that
one of
South
those-
Road, I think, would get beat to heck.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I think will come up at the township meeting, because they're gonna
That's a
know what
township
the.
road.
That's a township road.
Yeah,
You
well, I'm
know.
looking out for the township.
Right, well, I understand that, it's just that, whether or not it can handle the weight is gonna be the township's decision, not
Yeah.
ours, because we're only talking half a road, 3/4 of the way down. So, is there any other questions or comments? Okay, our public hearing is now closed. We will have an action item on this later tonight. We will now reopen our regular council meeting. Reports and presentations.
Okay, tonight in front of you, we kind of have a presentation on the budget for the 2018 tax year. And you were provided copies of the budget ahead of the meeting, and you were also provided a copy of the tax rate trends that we typically provide, which compares Sauk Center to the other cities in the county. A couple of things to note, that the city revenue and expense budgets that you were provided, they reflect the changes that were they reflect the changes made due to known variables such as health insurance costs, updated costs of utilities, and that type of thing. So that's been updated since the preliminary budget was approved. Overall, this budget reflects a $27,226 revenue over expenditure budget. So it's a fairly flat budget. However, the general fund does reflect a small deficit, which can be accounted for by, in there is budgeted transfers out into sinking funds at the end of the year. And as you know, when we get to the end of the year, we look at our budget, and if we are out of balance, then we just don't make those transfers. Also, there is an overall 4% levy increase to the city that you had budgeted at the preliminary budget. For the city of Sauk Center, we have an increase in value of 6.3%, 4.1% from new growth, and 2.2% from value changes. In other words, if your house went or your business went up in value, that was 2.2% of our growth. 4.1% of our growth was new growth to the city that we didn't have previously. So that's the total of the 6.3. So the result of that is actually a 2.1% decrease in the tax rate after we apply our levy increase. So even though we did a levy increase, we had a decrease. Now, I realize some people saw increases in their tax statements, and most of that was a result of value. If their value stayed the same, your taxes did go down. We are ranked 13 of 30 cities in Stearns County as far as our tax rate, going from lowest to highest. 10 years ago, we were number 29, so we've made our way up to 13, and we'll just keep working on that as time goes by. The commercial taxes are slightly down from the prior year. The biggest impact to that is the state general tax was reduced, and so you can see that, and I did pull some examples of like some businesses that their value pretty much stayed the same and looked at their tax rate of what it's going to be next year, and they will see a reduction. The residential homestead taxes are flat if there's no value increase. However, if you were on a lake or something that had an automatic mandated value increase, you would have seen an increase as a result of your value. You have a couple charts that I gave to you tonight, and just kind of give you some information. The property tax breakdown for commercial, you can see on the pie chart, that was chart number 1, kind of shows you how the commercial breakdown is. This chart 2 is the property tax for residential. If you get to residential, you'll kind of see it's very, very much a third county, a third city, and a third school. So a third, a third, a third, your residential property tax, that's where it goes. The chart 3 is just your city levy and a chart of where your taxes go from the city levy. As you can see, about 69% of it goes to general operations of the city. And then there's a portion to debt service, and then there's some to our special revenue funds. And then I went one step further and did another chart of that 69%, that's the general fund. How did the city spend our money, whether we spent it in public safety or administration or streets and parks. Just some kind of visual information so you can see and explain to other people how our property taxes are spent in Sauk Center. So as you go through the charts, each one just breaks the previous one down further to kind of see where you are. That's about all I really had to present to you tonight, just so that we could get a visual on what the budget looks like. You can see what has changed a little bit since the preliminary budget. You can see what the impact to the property taxes will be for next year. I think it's pretty good news for the city. I mean, you still stayed pretty tight with your budget, and yet we had enough growth to offset that. So I guess that is a good thing. So if you have any questions for me on the budget, I would certainly be happy to answer those.
Questions?
Could we get this in some sort of a format that we can share it?
Certainly.
Social media or
I
on the
will.
website?
I will actually have Nikki put that on Facebook, and we will put it on our website.
I think it's a lot of information, but it is laid out basic enough that people can just take a once over and understand it pretty
Yeah,
easily.
I tried to make it just kind of simple, just so this is an example of a average residential home, an average business, and what the impact was.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. At this point, is there any other questions from the council or comments? Everyone pretty much understands where we're sitting on this? Okay. Is there anybody in the audience that had anything to say about this part of it, as far as the budget?
has everybody received a statement in the mail from the county that said what the impact to their property taxes are? And tonight is the time that they're invited to come and ask any questions that they might have of the council. So you certainly should make sure if anybody has questions, they have the opportunity.
Okay. Is there anyone that would like to say anything about the city's budget or anything like that? Okay, thank you. Park Board report.
Okay, the Park Board met in regular session last night, Tuesday, December 5th. Just a few quick things on their agenda. They did receive some input on the dog park trial. The dog park isn't a dog park anymore. It's ready for ice for outdoor rinks. So if anybody goes down there, the gates are gone. Also, there will be a bonfire at the outdoor rink on January 17th, and it's for the St. Paul's and Ola youth group, but they have invited other youth to attend. They did look at the fee schedule for 2018, the meeting schedule for 2018. They will be recommending moving forward with a campground attendant hiring process for 2018. And they also talked about updates to the electrical and concession stand at J.C. Park. They'll be inviting the Baseball Association in and have some conversation of what the needs are up there. And then they also recognize the band shell completion with the LED lights that light up the new mural inside. Right now, there's Christmas decorations in there, but following, the lights will be back on. So they thanked the artist for that. They do not have any recommendations for tonight's meeting.
Questions, comments? Just one thing, Vicki, I had presented to you something about like a different style playground, like a ninja style exercise thing. I was just wondering if you want to bring that to the park board for
I have
January?
talked to them briefly about that. I was
Okay.
getting some more information about it.
Okay,
I did print out the things from the newspaper and did some additional research. We actually also buy playground equipment from that same company, so we
Okay.
have a relationship with them.
okay,
And it kind of merges in with what the Splash Pad Committee originally envisioned for the Splash Pad Park was a component of exercise type equipment or healthy type of equipment, whether this one that you showed me was more oriented towards youth. They were kind of thinking more of where you're walking the trail and then you stop and do pull-ups, that type of a thing. But I think they would fit real good together. So whether the park board wants to get that committee back together or take off where they left off, but they will be reviewing that.
okay, sounds good. Because I know the people that I had pointed it out to were very interested in it, so I just didn't want that to fall by the wayside.
No, it hasn't.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments or questions? We'll move on to our action items. 7A, approve resolution 2017-84 vacating the street.
This is the resolution that would grant approval for the proposed vacation of 410th Street. This would be for the city share of the roadway, which Mayor Stone did explain that it is the north half of the west half of that street, and that's the part that was annexed into the city in 1999. It would only be valid if Sauk Center Township also determines to vacate it. All easements for water, sewer, storm, and electric would remain in effect. Now, there's a couple of things in light of the different comments you received tonight. If you have additional questions, concerns, or information that you want brought forward, in addition to the option to approve or deny this resolution, you would also have the option to table it until that additional information could be brought forward, whether it's traffic counts, information on the speed, construction of the roadway, and those types of things. If those are a concern to you and you want more information, then I would recommend you table that so that you're comfortable in your decision. If you're comfortable making a decision up or down tonight, that's certainly your prerogative, so.
Questions? Concerns?
I guess, yeah, I guess I would like, yeah, I don't know, the speed thing again, I realize we don't have anything on that.
Right.
But I guess I would like to explore if that would be an option to extend that 40 mile an hour.
Yeah, when you're northbound at that southern road is where it says reduce speed ahead, but the reduced speed doesn't happen until you get partway
Till the north.
there.
Till the
Yeah.
north.
Coming southbound after you cross 28, it picks up.
Yeah,
One of,
There's nothing that inhibits someone from turning off of 410th to that frontage road to pull up to that, because we wouldn't be vacating the turn-in, the access point, correct?
Correct.
So they could technically drive all the way to the current Felling Trailer entrance and pull out there.
yeah.
I get where, Bob was saying that it extends their route, but we're looking at a safety issue too, which I understand.
Yeah, and then the count too, I mean, we had a rough count of, from the hay auction and the trucks and that, but I guess I'd like a more accurate before you shut off that.
the one thing that, I guess as far as the city's part, that small section of road is kind of like, we're establishing all our easements. It's really kind of the small piece of the pie. We're just, if we say no to it, basically, the township can't do anything. If we say yes to it, and then they say no, it's their tax base they're dealing with. Everything, all the people that we heard from now are basically all township, and it's the township's tax base. I'm not saying that in the future, and I don't see it happening overly quick, that whole area getting annexed in, because I haven't seen any plans or anything that would indicate that. And it's not like I want to be the person that throws it on the township's lap and say, here, this half a road for 3/4 of the way down is The only thing we have to decide on, and we're maintaining everything we want, but in good faith, we still got people that are part of it, so I'm kind of torn on which way to go with this.
Well, done?
Yeah.
I agree. I'm concerned about the access, but I'm thinking, right, but we're representing the city. And as you pointed out, the people in Sauk Center that are affected want the road vacated. People in the township do not want the road vacated. Who do we represent?
Right.
I think that the issues that came up about access and speed, these are all township issues. And I'm concerned about them, but they're not in our jurisdiction.
Right.
If I can comment on that too, though, Dave, just on the planning commission, because our world right now is on the comp plan, we're looking at 25 years from now, could this be creating an issue that if we do expand city limits to those areas, are we taking on businesses that are ultimately going to suffer because of this? Because of, if the township does decide to do this, what expense are those businesses going to look forward to having to maintain those roads, to build up those roads?
And that's one of the things, you know, unless Dave was gonna speak, but that's what I'm tore on. The only thing is that it's a 25-year plan,
Correct.
and there isn't anybody sitting here that I know of that's got a crystal ball that's gonna be able to tell us that in 10 years, if this, you know, it could be annexed in, then it's gonna affect what our decision tonight is gonna affect anything. We're basically just saying, okay, township, you know, if we approve it, we're basically saying to the township, okay, you do what you gotta do. We don't have a problem with this one section of road, because basically there's nothing to lose for the city's behalf. We're representing the city
Yep.
as of right now, you know, and nobody can throw anything black and white in front of us and say, nope, 2 years from now, this is gonna happen. We don't know that. It's not even in the city plans. So,
I think it was mentioned out there about the city annexing, and that sounded like a hostile takeover, basically. I'm not aware that the city has ever gone after township property. It's always been the township asking to join the city.
it's a mutual thing.
So, yeah, we haven't ever tried to force that issue, and I think if 25 years from now this is part of the city, it will be because the property owners asked to join the city. And there will be plans about how it's being done. And the way filling is growing, maybe it'll all be filling trailers, who knows?
Yeah, it's hard to say. So, is there any other comments, concerns? Otherwise, I'll be looking for a motion one way or the other on the street vacation.
I'll make a motion. I'll make a motion that we vacate the street.
Okay, we have a motion from Diane to vacate our section of the street. Do I have a second?
I will second that.
A second by Dave.
Do we need to have that conditional on the township? Maybe an
Yeah,
amendment would be
let's add that
appropriate.
to it. Conditional contingent upon Sauk Center Township also approving the vacation of its portion of the roadway.
And that is part of the resolution.
Yeah.
It is in there.
Yep.
It says that it is contingent on them.
Okay.
So basically, with that motion and second, if this passes, it gets handed to them to decide the future.
Yep.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries 3 in favor, 2 against. Keith and Heidi were against. Okay. 7B, approve resolution 2017-85 approving final budget.
This is Resolution 2017-85. You see it lists out all the departments of the city, all the different funds of the city, and the total expenses expected to be expended in 2018. Resolution 2017-85, approving final budget.
Do I have a motion to approve Resolution 2017-85, approving the final budget for 2018?
Motion to approve.
A motion by Heidi, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Dave. Any last minute concerns, questions? Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. 7C, approve resolution 2017-86, approving final levy.
This is the 2018 property tax levy for the city of Sauk Center. The total 2018 levy is $1,668,113. That's in front of you, resolution 2017-86, approving the property tax levy.
Questions, comments? Do I have a motion to approve resolution 2017-86, approving the property tax levy?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Dave, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Heidi. Last minute concerns? Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. 7D, approved land lease agreements, airport/EDA.
The city has 3 land use agreements for farmland that the city owns that is leased out to individuals. Sherman Farms leases 37.96 acres at the airport. Dennis Mueller leases 102.25 acres at the airport. And Cyril Felling leases 46.7 acres at the former Unger property at Highway 71 and 28. The airport board recommends the Sherman Farms and Mueller contracts be renewed, and the EDA recommends the Felling contract be renewed. So you have the Sherman at $3,796, Mueller at $6,646.25, Felling at $7,005. All have credit for personal property tax to be paid. So we're requesting tonight that you approve the land lease agreements for 2018.
That's the amount we would get with the?
Yes.
Okay.
Any other questions, comments? Do I have a motion to approve the land lease agreements?
So moved.
A motion by Keith, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Diane. Last minute concerns or questions? Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. 7E, approve ingress egress easement agreement.
At the last council meeting, the council directed the operations committee to meet and bring back a recommendation on the requested easement over the ambulance garage property parking lot and use of the pylon sign on the property. And this would be for the development of a business on that vacant lot between the ambulance garage and the Four Seas China restaurant. The committee, which is Johnson and Thomas, met on the proposal. They recommend the easement be granted with some conditions, that the electric to the pole be rewired with power from the adjacent property, that a chain or gate be installed across the access point between the properties to deter traffic, like customer traffic. It's just for access for deliveries. And that we include some language regarding wear or tear or damage to the parking lot. So those are the 3 things that they had included. I would recommend, in addition, some liability language be included in that easement. And so what we're looking for tonight is to approve the easement, and then we will get the city attorney involved in drafting it up, and then you'd also ask you to authorize the execution of the documents.
Questions, comments? Keith,
I will
Dave?
comment that we were told that this is a secondary access for trucks, not the primary one. I think that was real important to me because I was concerned about a lot of traffic running past the ambulance, but it's really just secondary access. They don't probably use it, so.
Right, there's, they get like 2 deliveries a week to their business, and the business has kind of a policy that they want an alternate access so semis don't need to back off the street into the business if there's a lot of traffic. They want to be able to have a secondary access. The developer is telling me, and I've seen the plans, that they would make it very attractive for the trucker just to pull up and back in and not ever go through the ambulance, but the tenant is requiring a secondary access. So it's kind of important to their arrangement.
Okay. Any other questions, concerns? Do I have a motion to approve the easement and authorize execution of documents with those 3 things and adding some liability language?
So moved.
We have a motion by Dave. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Diane. Any other questions or comments? Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. 7F, approve agreement with senior dining.
In 2010, the city entered into an agreement with Catholic Charities for use of the senior center for senior dining and Meals on Wheels. In exchange for use of the facility, Catholic Charities reimburses the city for added cleaning and garbage costs of $225 per month. The amount has remained unchanged, and now we're going into our 9th renewal, or 9th season. The Senior Center Board has recommended that the agreement be renewed for 2018, but with a reimbursement rate of $275 per month. So we've reached out to Catholic Charities with the proposal. I did receive a response back from them yesterday that said that they would be sending a new agreement with the $275. They're requesting that the council reconsider. But they've agreed to it, but they're requesting that you would reconsider that amount. So I'm requesting to approve the agreement with Catholic Charities for use of the Senior Center for Senior Dining and Meals on Wheels with an expense reimbursement rate of $275 or $225 if that's your druthers.
Questions? Comments? I think personally we just stay at the 275. You know, that's what the senior board
I would say the
agreed
senior
on.
board looked at it, and it was,
And
they needed an
and
increase
they
to
know
cover
the-
expenses.
They
Yep.
know the expenses, and I'm sure over the last 9 years that there's been increases someplace. So the 275 would only be right to go with.
Well, it sounds like Catholic Charities realizes that as well.
Right.
So.
Yeah, so. Any other comments or questions? Do I have a motion to approve the agreement with Catholic Charities for the use of the Senior Center for Senior Dining and Meals on Wheels with the expense reimbursement rate of $275 a month?
I won't make that.
We have a motion by Keith. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Dave. Any other comments, concerns? Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. Approve rate increase for run and training time, Sauk Center Ambulance.
The ambulance department has requested and has included in their 2018 budget, if you remember that preliminary budget time, a proposal to increase the rate of pay for their administration, runtime, and training hours by 3%. I'll give you a little history. They did receive a 2% increase in 2010, and then 6 years later, they received a 6% increase in 2016. And Tim DeShane is here if you have any questions for them. The 3% increase will annualize out at $3,019 for the year for the department. So the request is to approve the 3% increase in admin, runtime, and training time rate of pay for the ambulance.
Questions?
Did we
Comments?
figure this in the budget?
Yeah.
Okay.
The 6% increase sounds like a lot, but I think that included retirement, right?
No, it was 6%, but it was for 6 years.
It was
Okay,
over a
that's
number
right.
of
It was
years.
6
That's
years,
what it
yeah.
was,
Yeah.
right. Okay. Any other questions, comments? Do I have a motion to approve request for a 3% increase in admin run time and training time rate of pay for ambulance department?
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion by Keith. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Diane. Any other last minute concerns, questions? Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. 7H, approved listing agreement for sale of city properties.
At the city council meeting on November 15th, the council met in closed session to discuss strategy for the sale of 2 city properties. This included the 4-acre information center site and the 59-acre former Unger property site. The council met with and discussed a potential listing with George Jansen of Market Point Real Estate, and at the conclusion, they directed staff to proceed with the proposal. I have been given a proposed exclusive listing agreement that you have in your packet. The highlighted areas are the things to take note of for both the 4-acre and the 59-acre parcel. The commission is 5% of the gross sale of the property to be paid at closing and only paid if there is a sale. There's one thing I wanted to, that is understood that they're going to submit to us any offers, and it's the sole discretion of the city whether or not to accept them. The one thing I wanted to let you know that, he did talk about if we wanted to get a billboard or something to that effect, that would be our expense, those above and beyond advertising expenses, if we want to do direct mail, or that type of thing. So it is on number 7 that they won't incur these expenses without our approval, but that it would be our responsibility to pay for those extraordinary advertising costs. The agreement runs from December 1st, 17 until November 30th, 2018, at which time we can renew it or go away. And so that would be the 1 year that we talked about. And then also you can see that he included a map in there as well. And the way he had recommended that rather than listing a specific price on there, that he would market the property and enter into a discussion with them on suggesting an offer. So what we're looking for tonight is to approve execution of this listing agreement to get the property sold.
Questions? Comments? Do I have a motion to approve the execution of the listing agreement?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Dave. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Heidi. Any other comments or questions? Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. 7I, approve resolution 2017-87 declaring property excess and advertising for sale.
Okay, I have a slight update to this resolution. We actually have 4 vehicles. Another title came in yesterday. So we have 4 additional vehicles that have been released for sale. 2000 Oldsmobile Silhouette, a 1997 Ford Expedition, a 2002 Chevy Suburban, and a 2001 BMW. And we also just recently sold 3. They'll be on your resolution for sale at the next meeting. So we're looking for resolution 2017 declaring the property excess and advertising for sale with that 1 additional vehicle, that 2001 BMW included.
What year was that, 2001?
Yes.
Questions? Do I have a motion to approve resolution 2017-87 declaring property excess and advertising for sale?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Diane. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Dave. Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. 7J, approve advertisement for full-time police officer.
Police Chief Brian Fredericks and Sergeant Jensen are requesting that the City Council authorize them to begin the process of hiring a full-time police officer for the city. I do have a proposed timeline in here, and this is a really aggressive timeline as it goes for hiring police officers. So that's kind of like as fast as things could happen, which we would approve the advertisement, then we would internally post and advertise with the Minnesota Post Board and the League of Minnesota Cities for 3 weeks, accepting applications through December 29th. Then we would begin to review the applications the first week of the new year, interview the second week maybe, or the third. So the earliest we could be back before the council would be the 17th of January. More likely the meeting in February, because things take time, you know, when you're setting up interviews and everything. But so this is what a timeline could look like, but keep in mind it may be pushed out another 2 weeks. So we're looking for authorizing the advertisement for applications for the full-time police officer. And the reason I waited till tonight to move forward was because we didn't have the final budget approved yet, and that final budget does include that position.
Questions? Comments? This position was discussed very thoroughly with the police department as far as being one of the smaller forces per capita in this whole area. So that's the reason why it became a budget item, and now this is in front of us. Do I have a motion to authorize advertisement for applications for full-time police officer?
So moved.
We have a motion by Heidi. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Keith. Any other comments, questions? Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. Unfinished business, update on 2018 CIP project. Keith?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Don't have anything real exciting to share with you at this point. So far, the design is kind of unremarkable, meaning it's pretty well fitting with everything you've seen for the preliminary. Nothing's really changed, nothing we've come across that's made us change design at this stage. As an example, in the storm sewer, we're almost done with the final design, and pipe sizing is pretty much exactly what we had preliminarily estimated. So things are pretty much going according to plan. I'd say the only probably interesting part of the design so far is just on 4th Street, the storm sewer. It's pretty steep going from east to west, trying to get velocities down so we don't have geysers coming out of manholes and such. And it's about the only unique thing I think we're working on at the moment. But it's going fine at this stage. You know, we're not finished by any means, but it's going well so far. So, any questions that you might have, happy to entertain.
Questions?
Just to clarify for everybody, when we say 2018 SIP project, we're talking about the north end
Yep.
golf course area there.
That's correct. The hospital golf course area.
Yeah.
Right.
I had a question that came in actually personally to me regarding a property that is looking at being purchased, whether or not they would be able to tie in their structure from Maine to their house at the same time, working with the same company, whoever we go out to bids for.
Potentially. We try not to get in the middle of that, but the homeowner can always go, and we would encourage them to go to whoever is the low bidder and ask them if they're willing to do it and to get a quote from them if they're willing to do that. We would do obviously our part of the project, our part of the inspection. Things that go beyond would be obviously private, but.
That's where I directed him. I just wanted to make
Yep.
sure that it was an option for the homeowner himself to reach out.
That definitely is, it's pretty much an option always in any project we do. It's whether or not the contractor may be willing to do it, but they can always ask.
And then timeline for going out for bids, did you already say that? I'm sorry if I missed it.
Timeless for bids probably going to be, I'm trying to remember what we said. I think it's going to be in early part of March.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, anything else?
Questions?
Okay,
No?
thank
Thanks,
you.
Keith. Thank you. We have no new business. That now brings us to our consent agenda. We have a schedule of claims, unpaid claims of $167,856.63, paid claims of $5,495.64, for a total of $173,352.27. We have Resolution 2017-88, accepting contributions for $201.88 from the Men's Card Playing Group to be allocated to the Senior Center, and $200 from Melvin Ellert to be allocated also to the Senior Center. And on behalf of the city, I want to thank those two groups for their contribution to the city. Do I have any other questions or comments on the consent calendar? Do I have a motion to approve the consent calendar as presented?
So moved.
Motion by Dave, do I have a second?
A second.
Second by Heidi. Call the question, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. We have no informational items, so that now brings us to the end of our agenda. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion by Dave, do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Keith. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. Meeting adjourned.